Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, Crafting with Cami. Today I am creating a double page scrapbook layout. The photos I am documenting are of a hike that my husband and I went on with our dogs. So I have tons of photos. It was a beautiful day. It was shortly after a good rain, so everything was so green. The clouds were perfect. It was just, here it almost looks overcast, but it was just a beautiful day. As far as the picture sizes, I printed my favorite ones, large 4x6, and I did this one as a favorite as well, 4x4, because I found that 4x4s really stand out when you have a lot of 3x4s. So then my, good photos, but not favorite, were 3x4s, and then the ones that are just supporting photos, like this close-up of some flowers, those I did 2x2, or I guess they're a little bit smaller because my printer's not exact, so it's technically 1 3/4 squared. So that's all I did, was pick out my favorite photos, printed those a little bit larger, and then printed everything else at 3x4. That's all I did. The one thing that I know I want to use for this layout is some paper from close to my heart. As we were on this hike, I was thinking, oh my gosh, we're taking lots of pictures because I already know what paper I'm going to use. So as we were hiking, I was picturing my layout in my head. And the paper I want to use is the Change of Scenery. I just thought these greens went perfect with my photos. They really, I think it represents those trees and the hills that we were in. Like this one, you can really tell there's that really green hill there. And look at how perfect those colors are. So I knew I wanted to use this paper. And look at how this green goes with that. That's really all I had in mind. So that's my starting point. I know I want to showcase this paper. I don't want to hide a ton of it. So I don't want to do a whole lot of paper layering. I want my paper, this paper, to show. So Close to My Heart paper has that zip strip telling you the featured colors and the collection that it came from. I'm just going to cut that off. Look at the clouds on this one too. I have more of this paper, so I don't feel too bad wasting, wasting this side, but it's not a waste. This is so pretty. So let's go ahead and clean this up and get this zip strip cut off, and then we'll get started on the layout. If you caught some of my previous videos, you know that I have been loving the collage style layouts, and it really allows your background paper to be showcased when you have all of your photos kind of clustered together in the center. So I think I'm going to start with something like that and just see how it builds out. So I like to start with my larger photos first. So I have a 4x6, a 4x4, a horizontal 4x6, and another 4x4. So I don't want all of them on one side and then all of my smaller photos. I want them balanced. So this one, myself and my dog are both looking that way. Here, my dog's looking that way. And then these ones are more straight on. So I think I want these two over here so they're looking into the layout. And then these two over here. Okay, so there's a good start. I don't want to hide too much of this. So maybe have my larger photo up here. And then I could kind of build in some smaller photos around there. Maybe here I feel like that's getting to be top heavy, having two large photos. And this one's a little darker, so it makes it a little heavier. So maybe have that one down at the bottom. And I could even have that come over here so it's not covering so much of the pattern. Have this one maybe up here, and then I could do some smaller photos. So now I'm bringing in the 3x4s. I'm going to call them 2x2s. Those 2x2s will just fill in the empty spaces. So now I have my 3x4s. I have two horizontal ones, and the rest are vertical. I could also bring in some flip flaps so that I don't have so much of my paper being covered. So if we did flip flaps, that would be 3 photos, per flip flap. one underneath, and 2 in the flip flap itself. So if I wanted to do some flip flaps, I could do 3 and 3. Let's see which ones I want on top. So these 3 are of my husband. This one's of my dog. So I have to tell you why we have so many pictures of one dog and not the other. Our Bernice is getting old and she can't go on very long hikes anymore. So what we do is we take both dogs on a shorter hike. We wear our Bernice out. She absolutely loves it. And then while she's napping, the rest of us go take a longer hike. So that's why you see my Great Dane as like the star of the show. She was posing so nicely, you guys, too. Like, look at how beautiful she is. So that's why you see my Great Dane more. But of course I wanted to make this one large because that's the only good photo I had of my Bernice. So I just love it that she still loves to hike and it brings her so much joy, but boy, does she get tired fast. So anyways, I really like this one with all the green and the clouds. So I for sure want this one on top. And then I'm thinking one of these 2. Maybe this one, because this one reminds me a lot of this one. So let's put this one on top, angled this way. And since that's on top, we'll put it on this side. So I just instinctively put these on 2 different sides because they're both vertical. So I felt like it would be balanced more. And then we could do the same with these. And they're both just, you know, nature pictures. This one reminds me of this one. So maybe over there and then this one over here. Okay? So that's why I'm putting those where I am. We do want to keep in mind our embellishments and our flip flap. So if we want to do an embellishment cluster here, which I think would be a good spot because this is lighter colored. It's not this beautiful, you know. I don't want to hide so much of this. I'd rather hide that more plain. So up here would be a good spot for either a title or an embellishment cluster. And if we overlap some of the pictures, our flip-flap's not going to be able to open. So maybe we should go like this so that our embellishment can open up, or so that our flip-flap can open up and we can have, you know, an embellishment cluster or title there. And then same over here. So we could do something like that. Where do we want our embellishment cluster here? I'm picturing this way. So then again, do we want our flip flap over here? Something like that. And then I do still have those 2x2s. So we could fill in these spots, or we could kind of overlap. We could bring one over here. Could also I feel like that's a lot of horizontal though, or vertical. So maybe if we went like this. And we could do something down here then as a cluster. Oh, I like that better. I like that because then that kind of levels it. So then this could come down. And then we could have our title here and then some embellishments. Yes, I like that. Everything was printed with white borders. The white really blends in, so I think I'm going to accent some of them with some other colors. We have some pine, sage, glacier, mink, avocado. This would be our avocado color, and then this would be pine. And I think this would be sage. So if I brought in some avocado, I could kind of bring the avocado up to these. So here's some avocado cardstock. I'm going to cut a few photo mats. I really want to accent this one. So let's start just accenting a few of those. Maybe these two to begin with. Just one on each side. Okay, so I decided to mat these two in the avocado along with this one. This one needs, switch these around. Those two are similar. Yeah, this one needs a photo mat. Maybe pine, but I don't want it to look too dark since, you know, this photo's already pretty dark. Let's try bringing in some pine. I could also bring in some sage since that's a coordinating color. A piece of scrap sage here. That does look nice and it's not as dark. Here's some pine. And yeah, that is super dark on there. These three are now matted in sage cardstock. So that leaves the two 2x2s and the two 4x6s with just the white mat. What would it look like if we brought in some dark? Maybe a super fine. Let's do that. Let's just do a super thin border. All right, these have the thin border of pine, which I think just helps it stand out a little bit more off of like this avocado color down here. I think I want these, like these two centered between those. Maybe line up the base of those. And then this could even be like overlap. And then same with this one could overlap. This one I could do pine and this one I could do avocado. Bring more pine over and bring more avocado over. Just have a piece of scrap paper here. And that fits perfectly. And then same with this one, I'll just bring in a piece of scrap paper. And I'll get those cut. Yeah, I like how that just brings over more of the same colors in the center. So this will be our general layout. We have our photos picked out, or our layout of the photos picked out. For our embellishments, I am going to bring in Forever Forest. I have not stamped with these yet. This is my first time using this. These are the cling stamps. I just got this metal sheet off of, or magnetic sheet, off of Amazon. And I adhered that on the inside for my die cuts that go along with this. This is just a piece of plastic that came with, just to protect these. But these are what I'm thinking for my embellishments because there are pine trees in the background of my of my photos. There's pine trees. So I'll bring in these as my embellishments, maybe do a cluster wrapping around here somehow. I want my title up here, so maybe a small cluster here. I could do those little trees. And I like this background stamping, but we have a lot of background going on already. So I don't know that I'll bring in any more of that, but I love these big trees. So for sure those, and then it also came with thin cuts. So I can cut out, I believe this one goes with those. I can cut that out, and then I can also cut out individual trees that way. So we're definitely going to be playing around with this. These hills would have gone perfectly because we're in like the hills. So maybe I could somehow include that to balance my trees, set my trees on that or something. Glacier is also a coordinating color. So I have some glacier scraps here and I'm thinking about bringing that in for my title. This is the dark side, but I think that light side actually goes better with like this background part. So I think I'm going to bring that up here, the light side of Glacier, for my title. Here's a little sneak peek of my title. I have that cut out. I thought about doing Newton over here and then Hills fit perfectly down here, but I didn't like how it almost read Hills Newton. So I think I'm going to put it up here and then have some of my trees and embellishments down here. I brought in some scrap papers. I brought in all of the coordinating greens, and then I just brought in some white for my stamping. So here are my stamps and thin cuts. Let's start with our biggest one. So this one barely fits on this block. It is such a tight squeeze, but I think we can make it work. I splotched all of my ink pads so that I can kind of, like that. This is avocado and this is limeade. Look at how closely in color those are. So we will go ahead and do limeade ink. And then I do have pine ink. I do have sage ink as well, which is a coordinating color. So we'll go ahead and play around with those. But let's start with limeade. And I'm going to give that a minute to soak in. Okay, but that did stamp pretty good. Let's go ahead and move on to maybe this one here. This one I could go ahead and do in pine. I also have sage. Maybe I'll do sage and then I could do the smaller trees in pine. Or I could do both and kind of layer them. That sage ink is very light. I'm going to stamp a few more of those smaller trees, and I'm going to do some in sage and then a couple in pine as well. So we'll grab our pine ink out, make sure our block is dry. And there we go. Let's go ahead and grab those coordinating thin cuts. Okay, so this one, the warping of this happened when I was taking it off of that cardboard that it comes on with Stampin' Up. It has that double-sided tape. It bent on me as I was pulling it off of that. So that's why that's that way. Hopefully running it through my machine straightens it back out. We want to run this through. And I just use plain old washi tape. I'm going to run these through my die cut machine. I cut out a whole bunch of the thin cuts and my stamped images. Look at how detailed these are. I love those. I die cut just a whole bunch of different sizes in all of the colors. This one needs to be popped out. There we go. So much detail in these. And then I did some little clouds too in the same glacier color. So hopefully that ties that glacier in and accents our fluffy clouds in the pictures. So I'm going to set all of these aside here. I do prefer to stamp and thin cut more embellishments than what I think I'll need. And then I can just keep those in my stash for future layouts. But then I have enough that I can just keep pulling and keep playing around. So I'm thinking my title up here. I do have this huge stamp. I like to start with my larger ones first and then fill in with my smaller ones. This one's pretty large here. I could do some layering there, or I could bring in, okay, so here's that hill. I don't like that straight edge. I'm just kind of randomly placing those trees on top of and behind the hills. I don't know that I'm liking the stamped images mixed with the die cuts. Like this over here, add like a tag or something. I'm gonna cut a couple tags too. 1 second. When in doubt, add tags. So if I do like our date here, maybe. So if I do add that tag there, I'm bringing in some trees so that it would add to that cluster, but I'm not loving how large that looks right there. So let's try it on the right hand side, but this tag's even bigger. So I don't know that I want that over there. Let's try moving our cluster down to the bottom left. I like that big tree right there. Maybe I can balance it all out with that tag, but then we're hiding a lot of that pattern paper I didn't want to hide. I decided to move my title further to the left. I inked around with pine, and I like that here. And then having these overlapping that, and I'll have those tucked behind the picture. And then I wrote my date and inked around this one, and that'll slide in right over here. This is the Remember This Moment stamp set from Close to My Heart, and I stamped this You Have My Heart on my tag here. So I masked off heart, stamped You Have My, and then I masked off the You Have My and stamped heart underneath it. I offset it so that when my trees are overlapping, it doesn't overlap my words. The reason I chose this this word here was the rest are pretty large, and so I could have done maybe captured moment or captured memories, but captured might have been too long to fit this far over. So I just felt like this was the one that fit the best on my tag, plus these three have my heart, so it fits perfect for me. So we'll just put that there. I do need to find something to fill that hole. So I want the trunk of this tree to hide this seam here. And then this one will kind of overlap more. So that's why I have that offset. I have the layout complete. So I adhered my title down, and then I brought in those trees. I did my clouds in kind of a triangle formation. I brought the rest of that hill over to this side and added a couple trees as well. This dot is from Stampin' Up. It's these gems here. It came in my pumpkin, my paper pumpkin kit, so I'm not actually sure what these are called or anything like that, but I'm sure they're in our catalog too, or something similar. So that's where that little dot came from. And then over here, I did adhere that mountain down, or that hill. I added some larger trees in the back. Again, those clouds are in that triangular formation. And then my date here. I kept it very simple on the embellishment, so I do have a whole lot that I will set aside and just use in future projects. But I love how this really accented this paper. I love this watercolor paper in the background. I thought it went perfectly with my photos. So I love that we're accenting this, but we did bring in a few elements to tell our story. I don't have a whole lot of journaling for this. I have the date, I have where it was. I thought I'd show you how I get the flip flaps on my layout. So we had mentioned I have 4 other pictures that I'm going to add to this layout. So a lot of times you'll see me put the flip flap directly onto my layout and then cut a slit in my page protector. But even an easier way to do it is just to stick it directly to your page protector. So that's what I'm going to do today, is directly to my page protector. Really, there's no rhyme or reason why I'm doing it that way this time. I do it both ways. It's just whatever I'm in the mood for. So if I'm trying to build my entire layout with the flip flaps, I'll put the flip flap on first so that I can see where my embellishments and everything are going to go. But if it's kind of an afterthought, or I've planned for it and can just put it on top, it's not a big deal. So these are the Close to My Heart flip flaps. Stampin' Up! Has said that they're going to start carrying these. I can't tell you when they're going to start carrying them. I have no idea. So these are my 3x4, and the flip flaps come with there's 12 of them in a pack. I'm not sure if Stampin' Up! Will have 12 or not, but 6 of them have the adhesive on the long side, and then 6 of them have the adhesive on the short side. So again, I don't know if that's how Stampin' Up! Will be packaging them, but that's how Close to My Heart did. And so looking at my pictures here, let's start with, so those go on that side, this goes on this side. So this one will be going here and flipping up. So I need to have this one upside down, if you can tell. Okay, so if I have it flip up, that's how it will be. Otherwise, I could have it flip over. So then I would have to spin that one around. And I think I like it flipping over better. So that means I'm going to use the one with the long side so that it goes this direction and flips over. I like to adhere my pictures together. So I will make sure that this is the right direction. Adhere these together. So now if they move around in my flip flap at all, they move around together. Okay, so we'll put that in, and I want the one of both of us on top. So I'll tuck it in this way and make sure that's centered. Okay. And that'll go right here. So it's nice that I have that avocado border because there is, you know, that extra space with that seam. So then I'm not, you know, clear over here with the seam on my, blocking my holes. It lines up this direction. So I've tucked my photo in here. I'm folding this over, and then I will peel the adhesive off the back. You do want to make sure that this paper, your layout, is all the way at the bottom. Okay, and then we'll peel off the adhesive of this. And it's pretty staticky, so we're just gonna let that fly there. And then you want to make sure that you're lined up perfectly. So I'm lining up my photo with my photo. Okay, and then that'll tack down, and it is so sticky, so you want to make sure it's in the right spot before you finish adhering it down. And it is looking good, so we're going to rub that down, open it up, burnish it even more. You could bring in, you know, a bone folder, or you could bring in this little guy, whatever you want to use. But see how it just vanishes? You can't even see where that's at. So now we have 2 more photos on this already very heavy layout. And that'll just go into my book like that. I don't need to cut any slits or anything. If I would have put this under my page protector, I'd want to cut a slit right here, which would actually be over my photo, so that's kind of scary. But yeah, perfect. Let's go ahead and get that other one on. So we'll adhere my photos together. Actually, let's make sure we know which direction we want our flip flap to go. So I have this one out, that'll flip up, or do we want it to flip over? This one, if we flip up, it'll be hanging out of our book. This one, we could have it flip this way and it would just cover our embellishments. I think I like that. So we'll do this one again. This could also work for, you know, a horizontal 3x4 that flips up, but we'll use it for these ones. So it's going to go this way. I want this one on top so they can actually face the same direction. Again, if I was using this one, we would want to put one upside down so that when it flips, it's facing the right direction. We'll tack these together. Move that one out of the way so I don't confuse myself. We'll slide this in, make sure it's completely centered between those seams. Okay, we'll fold this over. Make sure our paper is all the way to the bottom of our page. Make sure we know where we're putting this. Take off the back. Okay, lining up the photo with the photo. Okay, lightly sticking. That looks good. We'll go ahead and push. Open that up, make sure we get that burnished real good. And there we go. Without the flip flaps, this layout had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we've added 4 more. We have 14 photos on this layout, and you can still see our beautiful pattern paper in the background, and we had room to do some embellishing. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a big thumbs up. It really helps my channel grow. If this brought you inspiration, leave me a comment down below. I love to hear from you guys. And until next time, live a life worth scrapping. Bye, guys.